He's 68 years old, drives a 2009 Honda Accord with 140,000 miles on it, still lives in the same house he bought back in 1991. Meanwhile, his neighbor just retired, picked up a $72,000 BMW, and bought a condo in Florida. Now, guess which one has $2.1 million in investable assets? It's not who you think. And if you're somewhere between 40 and 65 saving, doing everything right, this is probably going to flip something you believe about money. This isn't theory. It's not motivation. It's a structural explanation for why the wealthiest retirees in the U.S. look nothing like what the financial media told you to expect. Stick with me, because over the next 14 minutes, the math changes. Here's the uncomfortable part. Most of us grew up watching the same movie. Work hard, sacrifice for 30 years, and then finally you get to enjoy it. Upgrade the house, buy the car you've always wanted, travel, get the stuff. That's not just a personal belief. It's a script, and it was written for you by people who benefit when you follow it. Look at what happened in Japan in the late 1980s. The economy was booming. Middle-class families had real money for the first time in a generation. And almost overnight, an entire industry showed up: luxury goods, status brands, aspirational real estate, all designed to absorb that new wealth as fast as it appeared. Between 1985 and 1991, Japanese consumers bought over 40% of the world's luxury goods. 40%. One country. Then the bubble burst. Asset prices dropped by around 60%. A lot of those families never fully recovered financially. But here's what's interesting. The luxury industry didn't collapse. It just moved on. Found the next group that finally had money. That pattern wealth shows up, industry absorbs it, isn't some weird moment in history. It's happening right now, to you. And the timing is not random. It's built around one specific moment in your life: retirement. Think of your net worth like a reservoir. For 30 years, you've been filling it paycheck by paycheck, little by little. The moment you retire, a whole system of pipes turns on. Lifestyle upgrades, status spending, that you've earned it economy. Each one pulls from your reservoir, quietly, constantly. The wealthiest retirees figured out how to shut those pipes off. Not because they're cheap, not because they don't enjoy life, but because they understand something structural, something the financial world doesn't really teach about what happens to wealth when it finally meets freedom. That's what we're here to break down. Folks, we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers on this channel, and honestly, seeing this community grow has been something else. These are people who actually stop and think before they spend. People who run the numbers. People like you. If you want to be part of that, the subscribe button is right there. Let's hit 1,000 together. Here's the first counterintuitive truth. The people who look wealthy are statistically less likely to actually be wealthy. A 2022 study from Charles Schwab found that Americans who drive luxury cars tend to have a median investable net worth about 34% lower than others in the same income bracket who drive standard cars. 34% lower. Same income, different car, completely different outcome. Why? Because the car isn't the problem, it's the symptom. Underneath it is a pattern called consumption identity, where spending becomes the way you signal to yourself and to everyone else that you've made it. And that pattern has a very specific trigger: the moment financial pressure finally eases up. For most people, that moment hits right around retirement, or just before it. But here's what almost nobody points out. This isn't some personal flaw. It's by design. The phrase, "you deserve it," might be the most expensive sentence in the English language. Not because treating yourself is wrong, but because of when that message shows up and who's delivering it. In 2023, the U.S. luxury goods market grew 8.4% in a single year. And the fastest growing group buying all that stuff, people between 55 and 70, right as they're entering or just entering retirement. Not millennials, not tech guys, retirees. The industry understands something very clearly. This group has the most liquid assets, a lot of built-up guilt from not spending for decades, and finally feels like they've earned permission to enjoy it. So, "you deserve it" isn't random. It's targeted. It shows up in your inbox, on your TV, even in conversations with advisors right when your nest egg starts to feel real. Here's what's actually happening underneath that. For 30 years, you trained yourself to delay gratification, which is one of the hardest things to do psychologically. Retirement feels like the moment that training is supposed to end, like you cross the finish line and can finally relax. But there is no finish line in personal finance. There's only the reservoir. And if all the pipes open at once, even $800,000 can be gone in 11 years. Here's a number that changes how you see all of this. The average American retiree spends $4,818 a month in their first 3 years of retirement, about 23% more than they were spending in the last 3 years while still working. 23% more. Right when the paycheck stops, that gap actually has a name. Researchers call it retirement consumption surge. The financial industry likes to soften it and call it lifestyle adjustment. Call it what it really is, the most dangerous financial phase of your life. Because here's what the math looks like. If you've got a $1 million portfolio and you follow a 4% withdrawal rate, what's usually called the safe withdrawal rate, or SWR, that gives you $40,000 a year, that's about $3,333 a month. But if your spending jumps to $4,818 right out of the gate, like it does for the average retiree, you're not withdrawing 4%. You're pulling closer to 5.8%. And that difference, compounded over 10 years, is the gap between retiring at 65 and still working at 72. Now here's the flip side. The wealthiest retirees, the ones sitting on 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, didn't get there because they earned way more than everyone else. Most of them didn't. A 2023 study from the Federal Reserve found that among households with over 2 million in investable assets, 61% never earned more than $150,000 a year. 61%. So what did they do differently? One thing. They never treated retirement like a permission slip. They kept that reservoir and pipes mindset the entire time. Not as deprivation as identity. The older car wasn't some sacrifice. It was proof they weren't playing the consumption identity game. The modest house wasn't failure. It was capital still doing its job. That old car, no pipes attached to it. Let's make this real. Because none of this matters unless you can actually see yourself in it. Scenario A, you've got between $200,000 and $600,000 invested. This is the most dangerous zone, not because you're broke, you're not, but because you've got just enough to feel wealthy and not enough to actually be wealthy long term. Here's how it usually plays out. You retire at 63 with $400,000 saved. It finally feels like you made it. The house needs some updates, your car's 9 years old, your friends are buying RVs, and that you deserve it message hits hard because honestly you do. So you spend $28,000 in year one. Nothing crazy. $14,000 on a car, $6,000 on a trip, $8,000 fixing up the house. That's 7% of your portfolio gone. In year one, at that pace, your money lasts about 16 years, not 30. You're out at 79, not 93. And yeah, you might be thinking that's just a one-time thing. It almost never is, because the same psychology that opens the pipes once tends to keep them open. Here's the shift. Treat your first 2 years of retirement exactly like your last 2 years of working. Same spending, same habits. Let the reservoir stabilize before you start changing the structure. Scenario B. You've got between $800,000 and $2 million invested. Now you've got real flexibility. The math can work in your favor if you don't derail it in the first 36 months. With $1 million invested at a true 4% withdrawal rate, you've got about $3,333 a month. Add Social Security at 67, and now you're somewhere around $5,500 to $6,200 a month. That's a solid, sustainable setup. But here's the trap at this level. You can afford the BMW, technically, and that's exactly the problem. Because the moment something becomes technically affordable, the mental brake comes off. The wealthiest retirees don't think in those terms. Across data, research, even interviews, they all describe the same shift. They stopped asking, can I afford this? And started asking, does this make my portfolio stronger or weaker? That's a completely different question. The modest house isn't about being cheap. It's about not having $180,000 locked up in walls that don't produce income. The older car isn't suffering. It's $800 a month in payments and insurance that never leaves your reservoir. You might be thinking, I'll just be careful with big purchases. The data says otherwise. A 2021 study from Boston College Center for Retirement Research found that retirees who made one major lifestyle upgrade in year one were 3.4 times more likely to make another within 18 months. Once the pipes open, they usually stay open. So what do you actually do with this? Here are 4 moves, specific, practical. You can start now. Step 1, lock in your real withdrawal rate today. Not a guess, a number. Log into your accounts, add up your investable assets, not your house, not your car, just liquid investments, and multiply by 0.04. That's your annual safe withdrawal. Divide by 12. That's your monthly ceiling. Write it down, put it somewhere you'll see it every day. Step 2, freeze your lifestyle for the first 24 months. Don't upgrade anything structural, car, house, furniture in your first 2 years of retirement. Not because you can't, because those first 24 months set your psychological baseline for the next 20 years. Protect that window. Step 3, price every purchase in years of retirement. A $35,000 car isn't just $35,000. At your withdrawal rate, that could be 10 and a half months of income, almost a full year of your freedom. Frame every big purchase like that, because $35,000 feels abstract. Losing almost a year of your retirement doesn't. Step 4, audit your identity spending once a year. These are the things you buy not for function, but for how they make you feel about yourself. The brand, the upgrade, the neighborhood. Once a year, pick the top 3 and ask, is this making my reservoir stronger or weaker? You don't have to cut them, just see them clearly. You don't need an advisor to do any of this. You need a spreadsheet and honesty. So why doesn't anyone talk about this? Because the entire retirement industry makes money when you do the opposite. Think about it. Who benefits when you upgrade your lifestyle at 63? The car dealer, the mortgage lender, the travel companies, the wealth manager charging a percentage of your assets who quietly benefits when your behavior keeps the system spinning. Even your well-meaning friends who feel a little better about their own spending, when you're doing the same, the people who built wealth and actually kept it, figured something out, retirement isn't the end of the game. It's the most dangerous quarter. It's when you've worked the longest, saved the most, and you're the most emotionally open to a system designed to pull from exactly what you built. That's why the wealthiest retirees often drive older cars and live in modest homes. Not because they have to, because they understand something. No one's out there advertising. Freedom doesn't come from spending. It comes from not spending right when everything around you is telling you to. That 2009 Honda Accord, that's not failure. That's proof the pipes are closed. The reservoir is still full. And the guy driving it can walk away from anything because he doesn't need to look the part. That's the real flex. So here's the reframe. It's not that wealthy retirees are cheap. They're not. It's that they learn to separate identity from consumption at the exact moment the entire economy was trying to fuse them together. You now understand the mechanism. The retirement consumption surge, the pipes and the reservoir, the you deserve it industry built for your demographic, your net worth, your moment. When you see the BMW in the neighbor's driveway next year, you'll think differently. If this changed how you see retirement, drop a comment. I read every one. The question now is, what does your version of the closed pipe look like? That's the real next move. See you in the next one.